So welcome everyone. This is the place where we talk about food in and around Victoria, BC. And today I'm on location, the first time doing this outside, but I'm not actually at Harvest Road, but I'm talking with the owners from Harvest Road. So I have Brendan and Jenny with me. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, Dallas.
Hi.
You know, I think the way I should start this, just to sort of lay it out for people that don't know you two, is last year at the Breakwater, because I frequently walk the Breakwater, I was walking and then this person just comes immediately up to me from the others, like coming out towards me, just comes up to me and gives me a huge hug.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID, let's confirm that. But yeah, Brendan came up and he just gave me the biggest hug. And I think that kind of speaks to who you are as people.
Huh.
That's what I always get reminded of now when I think of Harvest Road. It's just the warmth and how ethical everything you two do is. Because I really feel like you could be cutting a lot of corners, but you don't do that just because you wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Right.
Is essentially the way that I interpret my interactions with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely built everything with a lot of intent to make it. We came up with sort of a mission statement about how we wanted to operate, what kind of ethics we wanted to carry in our operations, and the process, was. You know, the industry, there are a lot of suppliers, folks that'll come talk to you that, you know, things like offering you vegetables from a very short distance that have already been shipped somewhere, processed, and then sold back to you at a cheaper distance or cheaper price, and you can even buy them from the farm yourself because they have wholesale buying power. There's things like that the industry is just makes it tough to, like you're saying, to stick to your guns sometimes when the bottom line starts getting a little iffy. But we started the restaurant as an expression of our passion for this area, the food that comes off the farm. Obviously, this is Jenny's family's farm. She's lived here her whole life.
And for people that don't know, this is at Mitchell's farm. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I don't think I did.
No.
But when you are driving out the highway, everyone knows the blue building of Mitchell's farm, right? Yeah. The store. And then right behind that is where Harvest Road is located.
Right. Right behind the market, kind of hidden on the path. And that's one thing that we hear on the bike path. We hear so often is that folks had been visiting the area and didn't realize that we were back there. And they were either recommended through word of mouth or, just kind of were at the market and smelled something, smelled good food, came around the corner, and they're always really pleased to find out that we're back there. It's pretty cool, kind of having that hidden gem sort of mentality. It definitely, if I had a marketing background, I don't think it would be like the home run being a hidden gem, but like we've kind of adopted that and let the word of mouth kind of do its thing for us as far as advertising rather than putting our name on buses and stuff like that. I think getting out was part of our growth too, to be sustainable in our ways, so that we could do things like stick with sourcing all of our ingredients the way that we wanted to and presenting, never compromising on quality no matter how we grew.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like in that burger, in the Harvest Burger, everything inside the bun is off the farm, right?
Nearly, except the tomatoes.
Okay.
Because we don't grow tomatoes in this area of the peninsula. There's actually a ban, which is interesting. So we get tomatoes from Sunwing, just over on Oldfield, which is about, 2 kilometers away.
And we use those are the tomatoes we use in our fermented ketchup as well. So yeah, break that burger down. It's beef from the farm, 100% beef, raised here on the peninsula by Jenny's cousin, really. The rancher is everything's arm's length in that sense. We know everyone on a first name basis.
And that beef is on site.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing actually, because you guys were bringing in other beef and sort of mixing it previously, right?
We had, our butcher would say, if he would say we could top you up with other local farmers at the start. And that was something that when we were building our beef program and developing our relationship with how much we were going to be using, it was very difficult for ordering and that sustainable growth. And the idea of going just local Saanich Peninsula, just local Vancouver Island, was a way that was a bit of a stopgap at the start when we opened up and had full intent of being 100% beef raised on this farm. But it was like a bit of a hiccup just to get there, to get production, to understand how much beef we were going to need, and have that beef raised and ready, and raised ethically here on the farm. And now we hit that mark, shortly into the...
Yeah, I think year 2, we were 100% Mitchell beef. It's actually kind of cool because my cousin Greg, who's raising the cattle, he does husbandry. So he's actually breeding on our farm. And so the cows we're getting, like, we are seeing them from day 1. We know their entire lifespan, which is kind of unique. Yeah,
you know exactly what they've been eating, like 100 million%.
Yeah,
which is that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we have something written on our, I can't remember the exact phrasing, on our mission statement, but it talks about meat ethically raised here by farmers we know, in fields you can view from the restaurant while you dine, which is something that's really cool, super unique. The 4 corners on the highway is all part of the farm, and pasture land is rotated around those periodically. So it's pretty neat how there is, the extreme of our sustainable ethos of sourcing things locally without a lot of transportation. And that's one thing that does need to get cleared up, is that sustainable to us means produced here, and not necessarily brought in by a ton of boats and a ton of trucks and using a ton of fossil fuels to get food that's already being grown right here.
Is that called food miles?
Food sustainability, being an island, being able to feed ourselves as an island. And yeah, people talk about benchmarks like those, the miles, and tout us as a 0 mile burger. People go on those 100-mile diets and things like that. 0 is pretty ambitious, but
well, I mean, because you guys use Portofino for the buns, but some of that grain comes off the farm here.
That's right. Yeah, they buy grain from us. They showcase it in a number of products that they have. The bun that the products that we really vetted that process. We found folks producers that were in line with what we were doing, using cool products, using local products wherever they could, featuring them, bringing attention, doing their own to bring attention to local food sustainability. And that's how we kind of made a lot of our partnerships initially.
Yeah. Yep.
And there was a hierarchy. Obviously, there was has to taste great, has to be the greatest quality, has to be ethically sourced, has to be local, and then once we sort of roped in how far we would, we always say it's a couple, 2 kilometers at the furthest, I think, to Berryman's, and Level Ground moved a little bit further. They were closer, and then they moved to their new building. But yeah, I think it's like a little 2-kilometer bubble if you had to throw down a polygon on a mapping software of everybody that we source our mains from.
Yeah.
Of course, we've built new relationships. People like Christine at Cultured Kombucha. She's in Esquimalt.
She's awesome. I've actually done one of the kombucha making classes at her warehouse, I think the beginning of last year.
Oh, fun.
Where she produces it. So she actually gives you the class, teaches you how to do it. Then you go home with enough to make 2 batches.
Oh, cool.
Really?
And she gives you part of the SCOBY, like the 80-year-old heirloom SCOBY or whatever that she has. So that was really neat, just on a side note.
Yeah, well, this is all going to be tangents and side notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's a product that she's making. She's putting her heart into, and once we found it, we developed it into some of our cooking. We use that as the same, her kombucha we just use in its straight form as the kicker for our fermented ketchup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no clue about that.
And she taught me a ton about when we were fermenting pickles. She was saying, you should use green tea in your brine. Gives the tannin, gives a really cool crunch and flavor, and that was something that was really fun to play with and interesting, having someone who's got a big fermenting background, because we're trying, like, we, whole, like, live probiotic, not vinegar pickled products, all these things, has been something that was one of those fun projects that we got to develop over the years. Once we took care of things like having enough beef to source locally, having what our price is on head lettuce, so we didn't have to get tempted by those big producers that are like, we can buy the same lettuce from your farm, chop it up, send it back to you, and it'd be cheaper than if you bought it from the farm yourself.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
I know, isn't it?
Like, how much of that do you think goes on? It must be a lot, right?
Yeah, and
amounts.
to be honest, like, aside from the fossil fuels involved, there are a lot of, like, that isn't everybody's mountain to die on, and I have no sense of feeling holier than thou for having that within arm's length kind of product line. Suppliers, people are, if you're choosing Vancouver Island or you're choosing BC products already, like, there are different levels of how far you want to peel the onion back, of how sustainable you want to be, and there's definitely one thing like that. I never want to be casting any shade on folks that are doing so and folks that are producing those products here locally. We've just chosen to go our own route of like, that first name basis with all the farmers that we work with. Yeah. Things like that.
I mean, I know that you guys do leave a lot of money on the table. You could definitely cut corners, but I mean, when you have that burger, for example, the Harvest Burger, you can taste the difference, because I've come here a couple times recently with some chefs, and like, they all acknowledge that you can taste the difference. Like, it's very clear that the meat, like, when you look at that burger, it doesn't have a whole bunch of crap, like sauces and all this stuff mixed all over it, because you don't need to do that. Like, you're not trying to hide anything. The flavor of the meat itself is so unreal that it just shines through on its own. And if you were to pile a whole bunch of stuff on it, it would actually be doing a disservice. So I think it's fantastic that you guys have been able to sort of bring it back so it's all off the farm and just let that go through, because you can very, very clearly taste the difference.
Yeah, we try to make it just a really approachable, delicious burger. And like you say, not hide behind a bunch of other ingredients, because the beef is so delicious. It's so, so good.
And Jenny always says, like, you can't fake freshness. You can't fake quality. You can dress up.
Farmer's daughter, for
right.
sure.
Right. And you can dress, like you're saying, you can dress up a burger. And you know what? To be honest, we go out for those burgers sometimes ourselves.
Of course.
They're so good.
I'm not going to say no to blue cheese on a burger sometimes. I'm just not going to put it on mine.
Dude, I love blue cheese on a burger so much.
Yeah.
Like, especially a lamb burger.
Oh, yeah.
Just get two strong tastes together.
Totally.
Oh.
Totally. We, and you hit it. You hit our intent was, even when we developed our fermented ketchup, it was interesting. It was a lot of tasting happening, and we were saying, is this gonna speak too loud and take away some of the voice of the product that we want to be showcasing. Same as the bun, we tasted a whole bunch of buns. We wanted something very simple, but that held up, didn't ever fall apart in your hands. Those are little details we cared about. But just making sure that it didn't overshadow anything that we were trying to get across. And the aim that we wanted to get across was, this is just a really simple, delicious burger. Most things on our menu in that sense.
And do you guys have binders in the meat?
No.
No binders
in none of our meat products.
It's just beef.
Yeah.
And a little bit of seasoning.
That's the way you hope it is.
My secret seasoning.
That's the way it should be everywhere. I know not everywhere does that, but I would hope. So what's up with the secret seasoning?
It's salt and pepper.
Well, it's not a secret anymore.
I know, I'm just being honest. Maybe that also speaks to how good the beef is.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I know.
Jenny's so good at holding a secret. She held that for about 3 seconds. One inhale, one exhale.
So what else is going on with the menu right now? What else do you have on the menu? Because something got taken off, right?
Yeah, the menus.
Yeah, we cut it back a little bit just to speed up the flow inside the kitchen right now, because we can't have quite as many bodies, but we still have the classics on there. The smoked sausage, that's a big hit. We stuck with the big sellers from years past. Another really popular one is the breakfast sandwich.
Oh, I love the breakfast
sandwich. People
sandwich.
go nuts for that with the raw spiralized beets.
Yeah.
It's
The beets
so
were an
good.
amazing touch because I had that one a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had the
the-
burger and the breakfast sandwich.
And this, oh, you
Combo.
doubled down.
Yeah, I think that everyone just get both.
Yeah.
Like come hungry and get both, and you'll be very happy when you have both.
We, that with the breakfast sandwich, sometimes you're like, you have a guest that wants to hold something and you're like, are you sure? You know, this is like your 4th time here. Like, I think don't hold the beets this
Yeah.
time. And they're like, you know, I know what I like. And I'm like, I think I know what you like more. Just don't hold the smoked habanero mayonnaise. And then they eat it and they're,
Oh, that habanero mayonnaise is insane.
yeah, it's killer. And that's probably maybe the only secret sauce in the house that we have.
Yeah.
I've been making that hot sauce since we lived up in Port Hardy.
That's a fun one.
My buddy Brooks and I kind of made it up one day, smoking habaneros in like a tiny one of those home fish
backyard
smokers.
smokers,
Yeah,
yeah.
backyard smokers, homemade guys. And then we've just been playing with that. We talk we have like a text thread every now and then, and I'll send him a jar of mine. He'll send me a jar of his, and we'll talk about who's nailing which parts of the flavor profile more. It's pretty fun.
And then do you guys share like information?
He and I?
Yeah, like secrets?
Yeah, of course. Well, he's not in the culinary industry, so I can share whatever I want with him. He's not going to be taking our hot sauce out and branding it on our own. It's a project of love between he and I. It's very fun. But we that's a cool one. We smoke habaneros and pickle them. We smoke them first and then pickle them. And there's roasted garlic and some veg from the farm involved in that too, which is it's been one of those things that people are like, when we're closed, people are trying to contact me to get some of my smoked habanero hot sauce in the off season. It's one of those little things on the menu that we did go outside. Like Jenny said, there's no nightshades grown here on the peninsula, so you can't get Saanich Peninsula habaneros. So you have to source them. You have to get other growers, greenhouse growers, to grow you enough habaneros for the season and sit down with a chunk of time and make something that, you know, it's just this beautiful product that we like to show off on lots of different ways on the menu.
And you have a hot sauce that's available sometimes, right? Or is that not for sale?
Once in a while, Brendan decides he wants to sell a few, but
Okay, so
it's
that
not
one.
it's not a usual thing, no.
And because like sometimes you have jam, right?
I always sell jam in the market. Yeah,
Always. Oh, it's in the market.
always.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I
sometimes-
probably should start selling it out of Harvest Road too. Actually,
Yeah, why not?
why not?
It's nice to mix it up. Like
Little Jenny's jam.
I
at
do
the
like
window.
I do like sending guests into the market once they've tasted the beef. You know, once they've had our produce from the farm. It's pretty cool when they say they ran into you by mistake. They came to the restaurant, they took a wrong turn. They were going to go to Island View Beach. They ended up having a burger, and then
Which, by the way, just to sort of cut you off, but getting your food, I mean, eating outside of Harvest Road is amazing, but going and eating at the beach because it's so close, like that's a winning combo.
Yeah, it's great.
absolutely, we have a ton of folks that tell us that at the window that's where they're headed. It's pretty ideal little location in that sense. But yeah, wrapping that up is, you know, someone will take a wrong turn, end up at our place and have a meal, and then you see them leave with 3 bags of groceries from the market too. You know, and it's got Jenny's jam in there, and they're like, "Oh, what about that I tried there?" And yeah, that's in the cooler inside. Go try it out. So it's kind of neat and that really hits on what we're doing with the restaurant. The restaurant was, Jenny and I fell in love through our desire to have adventures and to new ventures and to try new things. And, you know, the way that meshes when the rubber hits the road with being, 5th generation farmer's daughter, you know, there's a little bit of heat on Jenny to be in the driver's seat of a tractor, you know, when it comes time to planting. And we do participate in farming here on the farm. But opening the restaurant for us wasn't this goal to have our own private venture and break off from the farm. It was a way for us to be a part, to have a way of associating with the farm, with something that we could, you know, in our own way enrich, and enrich the experience of people, other diners in the area, like our clients, our guests, as well as build these relationships with our neighboring farms of other places we want to showcase, like Square Root Farm, where we get our organic greens that are on our smoked sausage. You know, that's a relationship that just came out of a friend who was coming up to the window, Ilya, and ordering his regular Sunday burger, and we chatted with him for a couple years before we found out that he had a product. He had the very product that we were waiting for, you know, a kind of spicy green. Yeah.
Why didn't you tell us this like day one?
Yeah, he's too humble. He's the best.
Holding out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was really our intent, you know, of.
How did Harvest Road start? Like, well, because you're saying like this wasn't an intent necessarily to break off and become like a private business or whatever, but how did the idea come up? How did it all start?
I think we were in Nicaragua. Well, we were living in Nicaragua. I had always, when I was younger, said like, we should have a cafe at the farm, you know, but it never really became anything other than a thought. And then, like Brendan said, we met, we fell in love. We loved food and cooking, and we were living in Nicaragua, and we were kind of deciding like, well, maybe we should move back to Canada. We're like, well, what should we do? What would we like to do? And then I was like, why don't we do this? And you're like, yeah, why don't we do that? Basically.
Yeah, we realized that it had been a dream for both of us for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have a background in food as well?
Yeah. I mean, I got through university and then tech college by tree planting in the summers, and then working in kitchens or front of house, you know, during the scholastic year. And,
yeah, we both.
And Jenny cut her teeth in local businesses out here, you know, and worked in in kitchens on Salt Spring, as well as in Nelson, where we ended up meeting. We met in Nelson, BC. Sorry to hijack your story. You can hop in at any point.
How long ago was it that you met?
Like over a decade, I think.
Oh wow.
We were head scratching trying to figure that out recently. I mean, it'd probably be.
Yeah, it was funny. Even our anniversary, I was like, is this our 5th year anniversary or what?
Coming on number 6.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I never know, and Brendan knows. That's funny.
But we mixed it up for a minute. We were telling people this was our 6th season of Harvest Road, but really it was our 6th season of just surviving each other in marriage.
Yeah.
But it was 4th season of Harvest Road.
4th season.
Yeah.
And what were you guys doing down in Nicaragua?
So we
were in Nicaragua. We were basically running a surf camp, like a surf resort, kind of like this boutique small one. It was basically a sabbatical in a way, because we had both been working in biology on the northern tip of Vancouver Island, doing environmental monitoring for the big wind farm that went in up there, 55 wind turbines. I don't know how long. It was like a 2-year project.
Yeah, it was very extensive.
And then we went to Nicaragua, and we were there for nearly 2 years. And then we decided to do Harvest Road, and we actually bought the structure for Harvest Road sight unseen. Like when we were still down there in Nicaragua, I was calling my dad like, hey, what do you think about this? Brent and I are kind of thinking it would be cool to start this up. And he started like going on this chase all around trying to find us a kitchen, and he would be sending us photos all the time. And then we're like, okay, this one looks kind of good. And he's like, oh yeah, it's going to be great. But we realized when we came home, I'm like, yeah, my dad's a farmer, not a...
our idea of a dream kitchen and
is a bit different.
Yeah, we were a bit divergent on on that sense. Yeah, so we were running a resort that had a kitchen in it and had a restaurant in it as well.
Yeah.
And it was our friends, a friend of ours owns a Swiss couple, you know, and they taught us through the mentorship a lot about running a business, a lot about their values as far as guest services, being hosts, and attention to detail. That was invaluable information. And then, of course, it was in the third world country. So we had to build relationships with it. You know, it was all, now knowing where we're standing, it makes sense. At the time, it was like, why are we trying to track down someone to sell me a lobster, like on a beach? Like I thought this job was going to be different than what it was. And, you know, driving around, like going to different villages and picking up different supplies that were available and building connections with suppliers.
What's the most interesting experience you had trying to source something down there? Does anything stand out?
So, yeah, I blew it with that. Well, Carrillo, our boat captain, would he was like emergency lobster supplier. So if you could find lobsters, you would be able to buy it from another supplier that would come on the regular. But if not, you'd have to call in a special favor with Carrillo, and he'd show up on his motorbike, and he'd be like, just lobsters in his lap, just cruising up, and be like, the guy's still, the lobster's still squeezing its hands. It was very fresh product always. He lived in a fishing village that was right where we launched our boat for the resort when we did surf guiding tours. So that was always an interesting one. And we were there 6 years ago. You go to the same village now, and things are set up. There's a bunch of hotels. There's a bunch of stores. It's just progressed really rapidly, and we kind of left right when the door started swinging open to more development. And people kind of piggybacked on those relationships that were really hard for Phil and Sarah, the owners of that resort, and Jenni and I to kind of maintain and build and foster at the start. So it was really good experience for learning how to work with, other personalities in the supply chain. And then there was the obstacle of Jenni not speaking Spanish when we first moved there. Full Spanish speaking staff, local Nicaraguan staff. All of our phone calls were done through procurement were done on the phone in very fast Spanish, very dialect heavy version of Spanish. Nicaragua has a really unique form of Spanish that doesn't have a lot of letter S in it. So you learn quick how to speak Nicaraguan Spanish, and it doesn't really translate that well at other places. But so we finished that work that, as Jenni said, was a sabbatical for us to do a hard reset button on what we wanted to be doing back here in our home life. And we decided not to return to project management and biology where we were working, and started the business. Bought the structure from the Sydney Lions Club. Actually, they were using it as a concession. It used to be called the Lions Lunchbox. And
so how did you actually find that? Because so your dad was trying to find places. Did he find that trailer?
He found it.
Okay, so he found it
at an auction,
Yeah,
it had been advertised, and then he put in a bid. It was funny. He prepared like 3 bids. He was like, "I've got this piece of paper with this bid, this bid, this bid," and it was like an escalating scale. And we thought, okay, well, hopefully. And he came back. He's like, "We got it." And I was like, "Well, which bid did you give him?" He's like, "I gave him the highest." He just was too excited.
He just went all in.
Yeah. No negotiating whatsoever.
How much do we owe you?
He just takes care of business, and I'm sure it was one of those experiences that saved us a bunch of hassling back and forth. Just got down to business, and another one of those lessons. You want something, you don't let it get away from you.
Yeah. Because I think for what you're doing, like that trailer and the way the whole place is set up is like perfect. Like I can't imagine you being in a building somewhere or something. It doesn't make sense when you have what you have.
Right.
Yeah. It's pretty cool the way it's set up. I was happy with how it turned out.
That trailer is licensed as a building, right? It's not actually a mobile thing.
No, we're a mobile restaurant that's not allowed to move, is the way that we're licensed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which was
wrap your brain around that one.
Yeah, it has wheels.
Finding the sweet spot with the district, with bylaws and things like that. They were, they all really played ball mostly because of relationships that the farm already had existing. And so we used some of the retail space that was allotted to the farm at our space. But yeah, so it was like a wiener, like a hot dog and bags of frozen fries, kind of assembly line kitchen, run by volunteers. Man, that must have been like hot and hard work for those guys. And when we got it, it was like Jenni said, it wasn't quite what we expected as a commercial kitchen, and we needed to put a bunch of our own. We ended up, doubling down basically every dollar that we invested in buying the structure. We then spent again in the renos.
So does it look radically different inside than it did at the start?
Yeah, we gutted it. We fully gutted it.
Really?
It had the grill in there and the deep fryer with the hood fan. We kept that. But yeah, down to the floor and the walls, everything new. And then we got all the stainless kitchen gear, you know, the fridges and all that. It was kind of like a little apartment kitchen in there when we got it. Like proper cupboards and like an apartment fridge and like it was just,
it was pretty humble.
it was like, yeah, someone's
I mean,
little house.
And now it's still humble. You know, we have that open style where people look right in and see what we're up to. So having really like non-porous, really obviously clean surfaces that you can keep very clean and maintain and inspire that confidence in people that are watching you in the process of cooking your meal, and often, you know, engaged in conversation as you're making your meal or their meal.
Yeah, that's what's pretty fun, I find, being behind the grill. Like whenever I worked in kitchens in the past, you're always in the back, you know? But you come to Harvest Road and like you and I chat at the next window, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
People come, meet Brendan, hang out, and then they slide on down to my end. So it's kind of fun.
And I do have to say that with COVID and the restrictions that are put on you guys, I think you've done an amazing job with the actual space and managing the distancing and everything you guys have done. I think it's quite amazing how awesome it is.
That means the world to hear.
Yeah.
For us, it was...
How difficult was that to come up with sort of the final product that you have?
I think the difficulty was initially deciding whether we wanted, whether it was the right
move.
Yeah, opening again at all. You know, it was, our open date felt like right at the start of quarantine when we would usually annually do it. And, you know, it just looked really ominous. Information was really really patchy at that time. We didn't know the severity, the way that we were, how well BC and the island, man, you got to applaud us or applaud the island and BC. Go Dr. Bonnie.
I got to say, like living on Vancouver Island right now, like we've won the lottery of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And everybody stepping up and doing the right thing right off the bat. And then wanting to maintain that in what we did professionally as well was the struggle. We didn't know whether it was the right move to come back into the industry, provide a source of competition potentially to other places that may be more tied to like lease situations than maybe we were, and come in and then also ask employees to come into something that, you know, before we had their full backing, that they wanted to be there, and that's where you know they felt safe, and we built what you complimented is the system that we have is a process that came from consultation with our potential staff, our returning staff, and some thought and thinking about, you know, the way that our restaurant has always flowed and wanting to maintain you know, it would have been a weird situation, I think, if you were at Harvest Road and it was very sanitized or like sanitized to the degree of feeling sterile. We still wanted to you still want the feeling of being outside, eating outdoors. But of course we've added a number of steps. We have a busing position that wasn't there previously, where we have someone who goes and sanitizes every surface, but doing and adding other roles, but doing that with a human approach rather than, you know, a bunch of posted gigantic signs and very inundating, you know, all these new rules that everybody has to follow. I think that our nervous systems are so, you know, twitchy right now with all these new rules and all these new things that have been thrust upon us in this new cultural climate. And it was hard that was the challenge of bringing Harvest Road without compromising the kind of the cool, calming experience that is eating on a farm right next to where your vegetables are grown, and spending time outside and riding your bike to it. And, you know, so those are things that we didn't want to diminish that experience through the way that we found, you know, to unveil kind of our new plan, our safety plan that I think is running really smoothly. And then that's 99% a testament to our guests that are just compliant, come out and want to, you know, respect each other's space, and we've just provided the space for it. And it's really just like,
because you proactively like got inspected, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sought advice from the health board, you know, in consultation, for how we were what measures were considered an industry standard, WorkSafe BC, et cetera, for the health and well-being of our staff. And then how we could also, like I said, be approachable, have the place be still comfortable, was the balancing act.
It was
You accomplish it 1,000,000%. It
Thanks,
still has
man.
the same exact feel, but just the way you have sort of the, like, go to the far end, go that one direction to go get in the lineup to be there, and then just keep it moving. And then there's all the space that you could just sit out on those tables. Like, did you take any tables out or add any?
We removed some from the lower area, like the kind of the gravel area right in front of where you order and pick up your food.
Yeah.
Just to give it a bit more space there when people are kind of coming and going and getting their meals.
Are those ones now up on the grass field instead?
Yeah, we put some up on the grass. I think we still don't have we're still not quite at our usual seating capacity, but
Yeah, that's correct. We're not. And people are always come in and say, wow, you have so many more tables now. It's so great to see.
Yeah. I think
But it's just that illusion of space.
Spread out more, yeah.
But you do have a ton of room. That was one thing, like it was all about maximizing a serviceable space at the start. And then now with a fresh perspective of providing people with that space, we kind of lucked into it, of course. Well, I mean, maybe we planned into it, but having the space that we do have, the way that we arranged it, we were able to achieve, a large area for people to have, not feel like their space is ever really compromised.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had lots of people say they like it more this way.
And which is,
I mean, I guess that's a good thing.
Which is winning right now.
Yeah.
If you're like, if we're coming out of this pandemic with things that people like, more ways of doing things that work better, that are,
Things you might not have otherwise tried.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because
Totally.
it was
Exactly.
working before, right?
I see that as a huge win.
Yeah. And how's business been for you guys so far with the season this year?
It's been pretty great. We're so stoked. We have had such an awesome response from, I mean, Brendan, you and I were talking about this the other day. Like, it's so cool because basically everyone that's coming to the window is from around here. So it's really fun to kind of build these new relationships with all these people that are going to come back. And it's been awesome. We had our busiest day ever last weekend.
Yeah.
Like
Father's
ever
Day.
in the 4 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And that was on Father's Day?
Yeah.
On Father's Day.
Did you get a lot of fathers coming in, or was it?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of like, children buying dinner for their dad and stuff like that. There's such a wholesome feel about our place. Like there is that. Jenny mentions, the meeting new faces and seeing them again at a later date. There's such a sense of like a different form of success in that you just get so much gratitude and appreciation from people for what we're doing. There is a genuine feel that people are happy that we're back. Every year we open, they say, "Oh, I missed you during the off season, and I'm so happy to see you back." And I never tire of hearing that. This year is a really special one, of course, because everybody is being very conscious about supporting local and doing such a tremendous job. I know. And we're having a ton of fun with it too. Like we went and visited our friends at Whistlebuoy for their 1-year anniversary last weekend, stood in line for 2 hours to get into the place. and Wandering Mollusk was there doing oysters, and Burger Crush was doing their burgers. It was all so good. And
I still haven't been. Is it how do you pronounce
you
it?
got to go. Whistlebuoy.
Boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been there. I know I need to
It's
go.
like a Victoria hack because it's right near the water. It's got all the sun exposure.
Yeah.
But then it's in Market Square, so the wind doesn't come in.
And they've got a pretty big patio set up there, right?
And they encourage bring your own food. Then they partner up with like our friends at Morning People. They have their truck parked there sometimes.
Oh, Morning
yeah,
People,
John's our
Jonathan?
homie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I love him so much.
Oh, he's the best. We run in a really cool circle in being in this industry and being in Victoria. And you obviously get so much exposure to, like, our peers are just, we're so fortunate to be surrounded by so many inspiring other chefs.
I got to say, that makes total sense that you guys would be friends.
It was funny. Well, the Morning People guy, yeah, of course. But I met the Whistlebuoy guys out back of the restaurant one day because they were getting berries to put in one of their beer blends. And that's how we met. I was like, who buys this many raspberries? And they're like, oh, we got this new brewery. We're like, okay, well, we're coming.
It's the spot.
But it's just like,
But
yeah.
I was hitting on, yeah, and that's so cool. Those are another one of those things where it's just like having a cool product that brings attention, the berries on this farm, you know, ends up introducing us to someone who makes beer. Luckily, we really like beer. And, you know, you have these new relationships that happen. And then you support each other, and that's what everybody's doing right now. We're kicking ass, supporting each other as an island. And that experience going to their 1-year anniversary. We waited in line for 2 hours, which is something pre-COVID I can't imagine myself doing. You know, like time has always been so valuable, but now everybody puts this which is so refreshing. Puts their energy to, you know, committing to these social times that we have, and that their space lends so well because it's outside. And, you know, they bring your dog and she comes and sits with you on your Friday night. You know, that's a nice thing for us because we're working all day, and then we want to get home and hang out with Rooney and bring her out with us. So a place that offers that, which is something we do at our place too.
Yeah.
We're stoked when people bring dogs by our restaurant. But yeah, that waiting in line thing, it was cool because we've all sort of been training for it a little bit through COVID, of like, when things reopen, you know, now we learn how to line up appropriately and also plan our day. That, you know, we had so much of our social time just in that lineup. We probably sat down, it was probably 1-to-1 the amount of time, and which is just sort of how things are going now. We had a date night a couple weekends ago, and just trying to plan where we were going to go, trying to do some recommendations that you had sent us. And we tried to check out Brasserie L'Ecole, and just the way that we were all having to adapt, but taking it as guests in a compassionate way, and understanding that those businesses that have served us in, you know, to the way that we wanted to be served as consumers for so long, have their own restraints, and approaching that as guests, you know, which is something that we're so blessed with. All of our guests sort of seem to understand this, that, you know, we've all had to make compromises behind the scenes to be open during these times, and just sort of accepting it and acknowledging that everybody's doing that, and appreciating the opportunities that we do have. So we see folks queuing up at our place, standing in line. And the line looks longer because everybody's 6 feet apart, when it used to be a lot tighter. And you hang out, you're outside after the day, kind of cleaning up, and someone will bike by, and it'll be a regular, and they'll be like, "Oh, you were too busy today. You know, I got to come back on a Wednesday." And they're like, "You're getting too busy for us regulars, you know." And we're like, "No, it's the same lineup. Yeah, it just looks a little longer." And then your food's just as fast, like, if not faster. Sort of, we did trim the menu a little bit to expedite the process. That's where, you know, things that were sort of time sinks that were on the menu that weren't helping us get to like sub 10-minute ticket times. At our place, you know, if you are investing time in the experience, it's usually in the line to make your order. Once you get your food and you hang out, we kind of get that in your hands as quickly as I think is possible, given the space that we work with.
And I had asked about the ice cream, but is the ice cream happening this year?
We're doing Cold Comfort. We're showcasing Autumn's products from Cold Comfort this year exclusively.
Yeah. I miss the strawberries and the Vancouver Island sea salt.
Yeah.
I miss it.
I do too, man.
I've been craving it so badly.
I miss like looking at it leave the window and seeing that face of the way people look at it, like a long lost lover.
It definitely would be a long lost lover for me. I would literally get 5 of them.
Unreal. Yeah, you're not the only one, Dal.
Maybe we have to have like a Sunday day.
Yeah. And we talk about stuff like that, like ambition, new things that have kind of come out of being able to operate, like not being so hypersensitive of being, you know, beat up on a review site or something if you don't satisfy the hours that some customer wanted you to be there right when they wanted them. and you just get beat up online about it.
Does that happen very often?
No, it's the exception, and it's not the
But it's funny. People don't take time to write positive reviews. They take time to write negative reviews.
And that's one thing actually that we touched on in a recent podcast that I had here, where I wish that when people did have a bad experience, that they brought it up directly with the business.
Yeah.
And give the business an opportunity to actually rectify what happened. And if they don't act properly once you bring it to them, then like leave a review.
Yeah.
But if I'm of the opinion that if something bad happens and you bring it to a business and they rectify it or they go above and beyond, it's almost better than if nothing happened, because you got to see what kind of character they actually are. Because anything can happen at any time. Somebody could be having an off day and they made a mistake or something.
Totally.
But it's really when something goes wrong, how does that business react to it? So I'm really
and that's one of those neat things too, because I get a ton of FaceTime with guests when I'm out. I kind of get a chance to go out and ask people how their meal was fairly frequently when I'm tidying up the front, and then being quite often at the point of sale. You get feedback all the time, and like you said, it can be so constructive if you get it in the right setting. It's tough when, like, man, we used to live and die by that, like, because we worked in a hotel, trained in a hotel that marked its measure of success on its TripAdvisor rating, and so we kind of came home thinking that was how you live in this in the service industry. And it's a trip. I mean, we learned to get over it. We learned that, that those voices, you take them in context. But it does gut you, because it's like, this is our life. This is the restaurant really represents us in so many ways. But we've had so few, and it's definitely not worth putting this much time towards, but,
no, but I think even too, like when it doesn't happen that often, it's not like something you really can get used to.
No. Especially
when it is your livelihood and you're putting your all into it. But at the same time, like, you can't please everybody.
No.
So if it happens rarely, basically you're killing it.
Yeah. And if you want to stay up at night about something, like you said, stay up at night about not living to your own standard of like what you set out to do. Those are the battles that we have. We see another way of another more local product that we could be working with. How can we incorporate that? How can we strive to have dive deeper into our zero waste program and things like that?
Yeah. So one interesting thing about COVID that sort of happened is you haven't been able to fully, like, before, everything used to be composted on site that came out of the window. Mm-hmm. Like, you spent the extra money for the packaging, for everything, so it could be composted on site. And you can't do that right now, right?
Yeah, but
there's some limitations, like
a lot of single serving things that are coming out right now, because you're not allowed to have a communal bottle of something. There's contaminants that it's a work safe thing that a compost site can't have post consumer products that somebody's touched or licked or whatever. So that's one thing that we think is days away from getting back to the way that we built it, we designed it, and we're watching these phases be unraveled, and we can't wait to.
You're probably going to be so stoked when that gets lifted.
Yeah, I mean, it's my favorite part of the day is taking that bag of compost that represents every guest that's come to the restaurant, and it's all post-consumer products anyways to start with. It's all been recycled or sourced sustainably, and then taking it to the site and then looking and not seeing anything from the previous day. It's already been run through, already been mulched, already is a part of the nutrient cycle, and is being actively composted. And then you see a truck drive by the restaurant with a heaping load of compost going to fertilize a field, and
it's like the full circle of life.
It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite things too, is when you're sitting down there and a tractor drives by. It's just such a different feeling from everywhere else.
Right.
Totally. And that's...
The other day, someone walked by with goats.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love horses getting tied to like the bike racks. That's one of my favorites.
How often does that happen?
You get a couple every year for sure. Those are those gems that are like the experience. Some people, I know, and I understand it, the pace of life, that people that represent hurdles to people coming out and kind of exploring the Saanich Peninsula. Sometimes I think it feels like this nebulous area that's, oh my gosh, it's not in Fernwood, or it's not within 3-minute walk from downtown. But once you get out here, it's like you said, there's that pace of play that happens. There's just life around you. There's a tractor cruising past, and there's, you know, everybody's waving out of their window. And I know that my sister, when she came from Toronto, she was just like, "Oh, do you know all those people? Like, is that someone you know?" I'm like, "No, that's just sort of the community. We just wave." And like, she's like, "Oh, cool." Like, it was sort of
such a different thing, right?
Like, people drive by Harvest Road all the time, honking their horns, like, just saying hi. You know,
totally.
Everyone on the tractors, hello.
I love it. I mean, and that's
the
sort of
kids out there,
but
to the tractors. Like,
for me too, like that's just it comes down from the top, kind of, is how I look at it. So that's like the culture that you guys have sort of cultivated. That just, it's just a feeling of warmth, I think, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, man, and it's so cool to, like, all that time you spend outside, interacting with guests who are having that experience. And I probably am killing this expression by using it too often, or this sentiment. But my favorite thing to hear is when I ask someone how their bike ride's going, and they go, "Oh, it's going great. I'm halfway done," because that means that we were their destination.
Yeah, and
they're going to go back home afterwards, and we were the motivation for them to get out and do something that's really good for them, have an experience of time with their family or with their friends out in nature. And
the thing is too, when you eat at Harvest Road, you don't walk away feeling gross. Like, you could eat a bunch of stuff and you walk away with like more energy than you went in with. That's one thing I've noticed.
It's like Garrett.
That's great.
Remember when Garrett Shack was in the kitchen for when we filmed Cooking on the Coast, and he was ribbing me for being so lean, and he's like, how do you maintain that being lean, living in, like, I was thinking I was running the deep fryer at the moment, but yeah, like, you're right, fast food ish, you know, the food that we serve, the really approachable Canadiana, you know, staples, smoked sausage, really good fries that are made with BC potatoes that are hand cut in house, a burger, those done right, you know, are showcase healthy ingredients more so than, you know, than a lot of prepackaged, you know, heavily processed, heavily preserved products. I think that what we're doing, you know, I remember when that Cooking on the Coast episode came out, it was sort of a string of media that we had right off the bat, because people were saying that we were doing something new, and Jenni adamantly said that we weren't. She refuted that. She said, "No, we're not doing anything new. We're doing something that my grandma would have been used to when she was going to get a burger. She would go to the farmer who has the best product that she knows of, has the closed loop of product control, where she knows that person has raised that meat in a way that aligns with her value system, with a quality level that aligns, and then that's the person that she would buy beef from and go home and make dinner for her family." We're doing something that's sort of old-fashioned, actually, not that progressive. Just kind of
like forgotten about in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish you guys weren't like an extreme outlier in that sense of what you're talking about, but you really seem to be. It takes a lot of effort, and I mean, you have to really care to want to sort of operate on the bounds that you guys do.
Yeah, and convenience is appealing.
Oh, 100%.
But, you know, and like we have other things too. Like, we're working in a limited space, so we don't have room. Like, we can't just get a bunch of stuff and stockpile it and do a bunch of prep for like days and days ahead. Like,
is that actually like maybe a strength in some ways?
Of course, yeah.
We going back to things being fresh, like,
it forces you, right?
We're getting lettuce that's picked like that day.
Yeah, because you don't have any really. No storage in there, basically, right?
No. You know, we do our prep, and we're basically prepping for every single day.
And if we run out of,
aside from a few sauces and things like that, you know, like, it's every
we run out of corn
day.
In the fall. It's not a call to some big truck to run it over to us. It's a call to Jenni's dad, and
it's awesome.
She sends. He'll come down with a
He'll
bag
just
of corn,
go pick it,
knock on the back door. You know, like,
here you go.
Yeah,
delivery.
Yeah.
cracking it off in the field for us. So
When does the corn start?
corn doesn't start for a
August,
minute. Yeah.
A little while.
Okay.
So
Because that's really cool when you come down and you can get fresh corn, and you literally look across the lockside there, and you can see the corn like right there.
Yeah, last year it was in the field right across from us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it was last year, yeah.
Couple
It's
of
always
years, yeah.
different in what's going on in the fields all around us.
Oh, so they rotate?
Yep. Yeah.
There's a ton of thought that goes into it.
So like, what's the system with that? Because you have there's a lot of space here that your family has.
Yeah. So I'm the 5th generation, and my family's been farming here for over 150 years. And I'd say there's actively farming about 400 plus acres at any given time, but then there's also fields during that time that are have cover crop or have other things going on in them. But we grow over 50 different fruits and vegetables, and yeah, it's just all rotated around, growing wholesale, commercially, and then for sales through the farm market that's right next to Harvest Road.
That's insane. So like, how does planning out 400 acres, what does that look like? That must be a lot of effort.
Oh man,
Looks like a lot of stressed out, hardworking farmers.
I don't even know.
Yeah, and you know what?
Like,
There's
how many
that. It isn't flow charts and
No.
and GIS imaging and overlaying polygons and things like that. It's intimate knowledge of the land that comes with that history that Jenni alluded to, that her family has cultivated.
The weather, previous years, like it's amazing. Like some of our fields, like even down here, the soil structure changes within like. We're gonna lose that umbrella.
Oh, this umbrella is gonna fall. For anybody that's not watching the video right now,
Yeah.
there's an umbrella up. Like,
I'm about to Mary Poppins its way out of here.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost gonna fly off.
Yeah, the soil will change from like one end of the field to the other. Like Brendan and I were planting cabbages earlier this spring, and it's just like at the top they go in so easily, and then you get to the bottom and it's like mucky and harder and different, or like the way you put the rows in a field
And
going like north to south or east to west depends on what type of soil it is, because sometimes it's easier to like move a machine. All these crazy things that I continually learn
that's
day by day from my family that I'm just like, oh.
It's not written down anywhere either, right?
It's just all in their minds.
Like, but something comes up and then they know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And you just learn something new.
Yeah.
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 And Jenni's got that in her genes, that encyclopedic knowledge that sort of is. I remember texting her, running the tractor, planting cabbages in the very field she's describing. I knew exactly what you were saying about the sticky, because I texted her. I said, like the planter keeps getting jammed up, and she's like, at the bottom of the field. And I was like, yeah, at the bottom of the field. How do you know? She's like, oh, you gotta go slower because it's the ground down there is always a little tougher. I'm like, how? We've spent 14 years together. You never told me you knew the difference of soil toughness from 100 meters from like.
Well, it never came up before.
Yeah, it
Never came up.
We'd never walked past that area, or been thinking about that kind of thing. So it's really neat to see that. And that, I mean, it inspires me with the way that we develop recipes at the farm that are in tune with the seasons in the same way that the family here is in tune with the land.
I think a lot of people are very disconnected from food. Like they just think of food as this thing they go to the supermarket, or they go to a restaurant. It's just it's in the form that they get it on their plate. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of thought going into where is this coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we have to kind of be hyper aware of in current days with some of the sort of the harsh things that came out about factory slaughterhouses and feedlots and things like that have been very topical during COVID, and another one of those things that kind of gave us a sense of knowing that we've been doing the right thing all along, a reassurance. Because that we didn't have to, we had no concern that we had to contact our supplier and say, hey, are you getting this from Cargill, or where's this coming from? I'm not trying to throw any brands under the bus or anything. I'm just using names in the news, but we didn't have to do any of that research because we literally, are within a walk from the place where we get our beef, and that's something that not everybody has at their fingertips. So that's why I do say you have to be cautious about what level of sustainability, where you set your benchmarks. But if you set your benchmarks really high, it's very difficult to get yourself into a situation where you're not comfortable with the product that you're putting out there. If you don't compromise on any of those steps of the way, it's reassuring in very many ways that the health and safety and the quality of our product is never going to be compromised.
It's almost like you guys have an unfair advantage in a way.
Yeah, you just
On
have to
some
pay
level.
3 times as much. It's so unfair. Our costs are a little interesting. I think if we were sitting at a table with some other restaurant, our peers, they're always appalled by where our margins are, because of our costs are just a lot higher.
Yeah.
When you know the first name of the farmer who's bringing you your greens, you're paying a bit.
That comes at that cost.
But that's something that we've lived with where our price points are, and the way that we modeled our restaurant, that we do have volume that compensates for that. We have lots of folks come to the window. And then our guests also are participating in that cycle by paying a fair amount for what they're purchasing, and you always say that you love the value that you have at our place.
Oh, it's amazing. If you look at the bang for the dollar as far as what you get, like you can go somewhere probably and get a cheaper burger, but it's just, it's such a different universe that I wouldn't even fathom paying less for something that's like really shitty, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, and not everything is, but it's just such a difference here that I would pay whatever you want for that burger, basically. That's how I feel, though.
Right. And
it's actually not expensive, though. That's the thing. I don't think the burger's expensive at all.
No, I think it's still an approachable price point. And like for some people, like Brendan's kind of making a note of, it's interesting how local things can be more expensive, but if people are working towards that, it doesn't have to be like every single day of the week. If you just are kind of trying to work your way towards eating more local and spending a little bit more dollars towards this product than another, then that's a good start. Like I know in the market this spring they've been busier than ever too, and
I love it.
It's like, the pandemic sucks, but people are, or at least around here, people really are like following through with supporting local, and maybe kind of
and it doesn't get any more,
realizing like, oh yeah, we're on an island and there's lots of great products here, and
it doesn't get any more local than what you guys are doing, though. Just the whole ecosystem of, like you said, the 0 mile burger or whatever,
yeah,
it really doesn't.
yeah.
And have you guys, I just went completely off topic in my head, but surfing.
yeah.
Have you guys been surfing lately?
When's the last time we got out?
I tried to go like a month ago, but
Oh,
I got
that's right.
skunked.
Yeah, Jenny did a trip with one of our friends who's now works with us on our team. It's so great how we get to surround ourselves.
Is that the pastry?
No.
Okay.
It's my friend Marnie.
Okay.
But,
Because you do have a pastry chef now too, right? Or a baker.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
And
trying
we're
that.
super stoked. That's a new product, a new thing that we've toyed with in the past, and trying to find the sweet spot of nailing our demographic, right? Because our hours have always been very interesting. We just kind of try and listen to where the demand is through analysis. Afterwards, looking at numbers, looking at when we were busy, peak hours, and trying to, because we're owner operators and it's pretty rare for people to be down there and not see one of our faces. We totally trust it when we are absent. Our staff is really tremendous, and we have nothing but the highest. Like, I love the food they cook. It represents us just as much as the food that Jenny cooks. And but this year, we've started trying. We have a baker, Vanessa, who's been making these galettes. The number one thing that are noteworthy.
I'm mortified that I haven't had one of those
You
things
haven't?
yet. No,
Oh,
I haven't.
man.
Oh, maybe there'll be some ready when we're done this podcast.
Yeah,
Really?
We might
There
have to
might
rip
be.
down.
Oh, she's gonna make some.
Because
But so
like,
she's doing scratch pastry for that, strawberries and raspberries from the farm, and rhubarb from the farm, and so she's doing different. I think she had thyme as well in the
strawberry rhubarb thyme.
Yeah,
It's really yummy.
the
they're
pictures
just
look insane.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
and they don't stick around. That's the thing. It's one of the first things that I've been doing, like checklist in my stories of when we have them, because no matter how hard we try to get her to, you know, stock our coffers with them, they run out because people are loving them, and you look at them and you can see why they're a really great product.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
cool.
that's why I haven't seen them, because when I've been here, they're already sold.
Generally, yeah. That's a cool thing. I mean, we used to sell out of stuff at the restaurant. You'd have those days where people were like, oh, I got to try something different, because, you know, it was back when we were establishing our supply of meat and going 100% Mitchell beef, being dependent only on what we could produce. You know, sometimes people would come up on a super busy August long and we'd have sold out, but we'd still be open and they'd have something they hadn't had on the menu and then be stoked on that. We kind of don't have really any spots on the menu that you're not going to be pleased with. That's a nice thing about having a small curated kind of menu board.
One interesting thing, though, that you did mention to me last time I was here, I think, was that because you are doing like 100% beef off the farm, and now like this is your best year ever, I think, or something, like you're going through the beef pretty quickly, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's not a situation where you can just be like, oh, we'll just bring some more in. It's like, well, we have to grow more or like raise more animals.
Right, and ramp up
I know.
with years in advance of forecasting. Like, how are we going to be sustainable in 4 years if we've gone up this much in these 4? You know, so there's a lot of thinking in the background happening with Jenny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's funny. Like, I'm always talking to my cousin. He's like, okay, hold on. What do you need now? I'm working enough as it is here.
Yeah, you guys are getting too popular.
Yeah, it's fun though. But yeah, like this week we've gone through like 100 pounds of beef. That's crazy.
In a week.
Yeah.
How many cows is that?
Oh, that's not.
Oh, one.
I guess that's one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than one.
One makes it.
Less than one full one.
Yeah.
But still, extrapolate that out over your whole season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I think the herd is around, I think it holds around 80. I'm not 80 cattle.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to fact check that, but that's kind of what my cousin's trying to kind of maintain.
Okay. And is that sort of a limit that you could have, or is that sort of where it's at?
No, because they have so many sales through our market too, you know, and like like you say, it's a whole life that has to live.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
Yeah. Like it's
not an on-demand product.
No.
Exactly.
No.
But the surfing, so when are you getting out to surf again?
Hopefully this winter. I don't know.
I start gathering dust on my surfboards as soon as the season starts. And I have buddies come by. My buddy Will, who owns Barracuda Surfboards locally here, he came by and was telling me that there's a swell coming, and I just say, I don't want to hear about it. I got to keep my...
I guess you are too busy, right?
I got to keep my head down.
Yeah.
I just pretend that there is no surf in the off season there, because there generally isn't that great. The quality isn't there, but we hit hard in the winter, and I did a little Nicaragua trip this year. Went back to the resort the neighborhood where our resort was, and visited all my friends who've opened new businesses down there, and got to spend some time seeing how they've done and share stories about being entrepreneurial, and it was pretty cool. Jenny
I was supposed to go.
I was supposed to go to Mexico right when I got back. We were dealing with an ailing family member. Our dog was nearing the end, and so we didn't want to leave him, and so we decided to take separate trips. And
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, part of life.
He was 18.
But we got
18, really?
darn near.
18.
Yeah, we got a whole winter of bonus time with him this year.
What was his name?
Baxter.
Baxter. We usually called him Boogie though.
Boogie.
Bax.
I love
Yeah.
that. Shout out to Boogie.
Yeah,
Shout out to Boogie.
totally. Pour one out for Boogie.
Yeah, rest in peace, Boogie.
Totally. But yeah, so Jenny's still got a trip.
I got one in the bank.
Because we were literally the day that everything came down and the travel advisory started happening. She was the day she was supposed to fly out. So she didn't get her surf trip. So she'll be the first to go. She'll leave in November, and I'll stay cleaning the kitchen.
Have you guys had any crazy experiences while you've been out surfing? Like any huge waves or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you were basically attacked by that.
Oh, those sea lions recently? That was weird. I'd never had that happen.
Well, what's going on there? Because those are scary.
Yeah. I mean, I was surfing local wave that has numerical counts, and I was at the first of the number, first reef at that spot, and it's also, unbeknownst to me, a nice breeding ground for sea lions. And I went out early with this was pre-dawn, like maybe an hour before dawn. I was on the trail, and there goes the umbrella. But
okay, there we go.
No injuries sustained.
No, we're fine.
But watch your headphones when you stand up, Jenny. But I paddled out into what I thought was an empty lineup, and as the dawn started to break, I saw some bodies out in the lineup, and I thought, oh man, there's like 30 guys out already. How's that even possible? Like, it's a bit of a hike in, like how. And then as I got closer, I noticed that it was sea lions, and then I thought they'd just vacate the space once I kind of went and took it over, and they didn't agree at all with that plan. And
I would have been so sketched out.
Jostled me off my board, and it was like that eerie kind of just like a little bit of light just breaking through. And so the contrast between the water and the horizon was very indifferentiable, and just sort of a slick melding of the two. And all of a sudden these shapes kind of come out, and they move so quickly, and you see one far away, and then he goes underwater, and then all of a sudden he was right on. Some of them were right on me, and I had a little bit of a weird experience and got the heck out of there.
Obviously you made it out though.
Did, yeah.
You made it out.
I did, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what I was knocked out once in Barbados.
Surfing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually
we've had our adventures for sure.
Yeah, this scar is a testament to learn how surfing comes with bumps and bruises, for sure. Yeah.
And what happened with getting knocked out?
Someone dropped in on me, and then we wiped out, and then when I came up for air, their board drilled right into my forehead, and then I was unconscious.
That's so sketchy. Like getting knocked out in the water, that's not a good situation.
He had to swim out. He had to swim out and get me.
Really?
Yeah.
So you saw it happen?
Oh yeah. I saw it happen, and I didn't see the impact. I just saw the white water and didn't know that she'd been hit. But then the way that she behaved afterwards, I saw her just start paddling back into the impact zone, like the one place you wouldn't go. You could tell she wasn't making the right decision. So
yeah.
And she was surprised when I got out there. She said, "Whoa, what are you doing out here?"
And the guy had like a goose egg, like the size of this microphone on my head.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just out there coming to save you.
Yeah.
But she got back on the board that trip.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys would like to mention?
I reckon thanking you for what you're doing, man, is something that needs to be needs to be addressed. It's selfless in every way, and I know that how much appreciation you share for our community, and how the way that you are putting your time and investing in this, not just with the monetary investment, but the time that you've built what you have with VicFoodGuys, and spreading and doing it completely just out of your desire to share the things that you love with everyone else is, it's pretty remarkable, and always makes the compliments that you're generally very free with giving to me, mean that much more, because we respect you so much, and how hard you work, and we're stoked. We're stoked that you love our place, and we're stoked that we became friends, for sure.
That legitimately means like a lot to me. Thank you.
And
I can't thank you enough.
That you're passionate.
It's intangible how much you've helped our business, and it's that word of mouth. Yeah, you getting the word out there and sharing, and your friend Bilal from
Bilal was here.
Came out not that long ago, and
we call him the Mediterranean beard.
He's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
He used to have a beard that was like super long.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Has he been out more than once, or
he
just
came
once?
with his family on Father's Day, and it just was like, he said, "I'm friends with VicFoodGuy," and I was like, "Yeah, of course you are." And he and I were instantly friends, and
I love him so much.
It was so cool, and it was just very obvious that you had spoken to him. He knew so much about our place, but he was so interested still, and it was so engaging, the conversation with him and his family, and wanting to check out where this was grown and what was happening out here. And it was a testament to just knowing the sincerity that you carry when you share you know, the stories that you're telling right now, and you're super, like, the way that you're supporting our all of us entrepreneurs during you know, this season that has really turned, like you said, you know, the onus was on all of us to take care of our own and support local, and just we're so fortunate to have you know, the community that's backing that, and appreciate the part that you play in that, man, because it's huge.
No, thank you very much. And I want to thank, like, everyone. I mean, thank you to you guys for being as ethical as you are, because it's a treat every time I get to come out here. But everyone that, like, that's listened to the podcast, watch the videos, follow the Instagram account, like, I want to give a shout out to everyone that has done that. And sort of, I mean, I do kind of have a platform now where I can share this stuff, but it's only because people are interested and they follow along.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a thank you to everyone. Because
Cool.
without them, I would have no way of sharing stuff, right? Or nobody to share it to.
Right.
So, and that allows me to meet people like you. And I love you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Right back at you.
Right back at you, bro.
Okay. So if you want to see more, you guys are out here at Mitchell's Farm. What's the Instagram account? Is it harvest.road?
Yeah. Harvest.road, RD, spelt like a road sign.
Okay. And then do you have Facebook too? Do you have a website? There's no
Yeah,
website.
we're on Facebook. Our website's getting built right now, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
building
we're
it.
working on people being able to pre-order their
Oh, I love
nav.
it. That's awesome.
So that's in the works.
Yeah, that'll.
But it's
Just
just
wait-
harvestroad.com, but it's not happening quite yet.
Yeah, we own the domain. We just don't have it populated yet. But
All in good time.
yeah, totally.
Okay, so for anybody that wants to follow what I'm doing, you can check it out at VicFoodGuys.ca. And I'll be back next Tuesday with the next episode. So thank you again, you guys.
Thanks, Dallas.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dallas.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.